always think back to like, we grew up in, not us specifically, but like generations before us grew up in tribes, and within each tribe, they spoke their own language. They had their own roles and their ways of doing things. And when you came across another tribe, generally it was like some kind of conflict or war, which, that's what happens when differences of opinions and ways of living happen. But at the moment, we're trying to get everyone to believe the same thing, think the same way, eat the same way, fucking do everything the same way. And it's not possible. We got 7+ billion people. And once again, I 100% agree with what you said. Like, I think there's so many dickheads out there talking stuff, and I'm probably one of them, but we're trying to spread a message that we believe in to the right people.
Exactly.
And as long as it's not causing harm, which I don't believe anything that I talk about should cause harm. And if you listen to context of it, but it's trying to empower people to go find their own niches or tribes or groups of mates that support them and empower them. And it's okay to have differences with other people. It's okay to think other people are twits and dickheads and everything like that. That's fine. As long as you don't go out for their head or whatever. Like, it's fine.
Hey guys, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of Couch in the Mind, clearing the mind one couch talk at a time. On today's episode, I've got Lachie Stuart, men's performance coach and founder of the Man That Can project. Join me in conversation. How are you, brother?
Mate, I am going really well. As I was saying to you before, I've just got over a 4-day hangover from my Bucks party. So this is the first time I felt good this week, and I'm loving it.
Did you want to go into a bit of detail with what happened on that 4-day bender?
Mate, it was my first 4-day bender in about 7, 8 years. So it nailed me. But the people that I invited along to my Bucks party, I considered good mates, and the way they treated me, it's like
to differ.
Yeah, mate, it's questionable. But looking back and having a laugh at some of the memories that we made, it was awesome fun. They dressed me up in wedding dresses and shot me with paintballs, and then made me go bungee jumping in a Borat suit, which I was hoping my bloody nuts wouldn't pop out the side. So there was some fun stuff, and that's probably all that needs to be heard around that. But yeah, I'm definitely paying the price for. I guess the main point the scariest thing for me was wearing that Borat suit. Like, it pretty much shows everything. So I said to the boys, is there anything that I can do to get out of this and just get back into normal clothes? Because we had a full day ahead going to like a pub crawl up the coast. So going to see a fair few people. And we came to the agreement that if I did 8 shots in 2 hours, I could get free. Now, this was at like 9 a.m. on the way to bungee jumping. I was like, right, let's go. Start the clock now. I banged 5 back. And mind you, for everyone listening, I don't drink a lot at all. So 1 shot normally nails me.
Yeah.
I think I nailed 5 in about however long it took to get to the bungee jumping, say 35 minutes or whatever. And I don't really remember the jump, and I don't remember the rest of the day. I don't even know if I finished 8 shots or not, but I just know I was wearing that mankini for the rest of the day, and there's some funny footage. But yeah, that was the beginning of the end for me.
Look, I tell you what, in the moment, you're probably hesitant and shitting yourself. Like you said, half a nut popping out in the mankini. But, looking back on it, in years to come, it will be such a good memory and such a good laugh to be spoken and talking about with your mates and family members and whatever.
Mate, that's what all the boys keep saying to me. They're like, I was like, you guys are pigs. Like, supposed to treat you, mate. They're like, it'll be memories for life. And you're like, all right, I'll take your word for it.
But mate, in terms of the video and episode today, I just wanted to start off by asking, your organization, the Man That Can project, do you mind me asking what it is and what got you into starting up such a project?
So the Man That Can project is a men's performance coaching business. We run workshops and programs to help men take their life to that next level in whatever area that they choose that to be. Right? We use 4 simple pillars: muscle, momentum, meaning, and mateship, because I think for me that just makes things simple. When we look at muscle, it's not just getting in the gym, it's any muscle or skill set. It could be communication with your partner, it could be learning a language, it could be emotional intelligence, whatever it is that you feel is going to improve your quality of life. We then go to muscle momentum, which is what are the action steps that you need to take to start working towards that goal to get yourself in action, because many of us set goals and never take action on it. So the momentum piece is key. And when you're in momentum, you get feedback around whether you actually want to flex that muscle or whether you don't, and what feedback you actually need to work on in regards to what's next for me. We then go to meaning, which is why we want to do it. What value is it going to add to me? What's the intention behind the specific task that I'm doing? An example would be many people go to the gym to get fit and healthy, but they don't have a program or they have no idea of why they're going in to do it. So while you're walking home going, I did an hour at the gym, you might have done sweet fuck all that's going to help you achieve what you wanted within the gym. So it's really important to start creating intention within your life, because otherwise you just end up being one of those extremely busy people who aren't achieving what they want from their life, whether it's fulfillment in relationships, the body that you want, the finances that you want, the lifestyle, whatever it is. And then finally, mateship. Mateship is the most important part. It's like you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around, as everyone hears that saying. So if you want to be fit and healthy, are you hanging around fit and healthy people so you can understand how they think, act, and behave? If you want to be in a great loving relationship, go hang around people who in what you believe to be great loving relationships. You can see how they think, act, and behave. So you nail those 4 things, which is what we map out, and you're going to have a very high chance of success. And within that muscle piece, we break that down into 8 areas, which, I don't have to break it into, but people get the general idea. And that's when, for me, I was trying to work out how to feel more fulfillment and feel more satisfaction in my life. I realized that there was more than just physical health, which, I was an athlete prior. I was pursuing professional sport. So I thought I had to always be fit and healthy. And my body was like what helped me get women. And it also helped me earn money and do all that sort of stuff. And when
God's
that was
gift.
done, it's a pretty shallow way to think, but that's the only value I believed I had. So when I started breaking my life down into different areas, I realized that there were other skill sets that I had. There were areas that I needed to learn about in order to live a good quality of life that I'd been shying away from. So now that I have those 8 areas to focus on, I can go, okay, well, which one of these 8 areas that if I were to improve it over the next 12 weeks or 2 years or whatever it is going to have a significant positive impact on who I am as a man and the quality of life that I'm going to have. And that's essentially what I went through my own process from about 2014 to 18. And I documented the whole thing on Instagram. It was awesome. And as a result of that, I had blokes and ladies as well, actually just, asking for recommendations on books, asking what I thought of this and what I thought of that. And it just led me into, the first thing was men's circles, really, because I never wanted to be a coach. I never had the dream to run a company either. I just wanted to be successful. I didn't really know what that looked like. And I was in Europe going to get a pint in a palmy in Austria. And someone asked me I can't remember specifically what the question was. It was for some bit of advice. And I just thought that, what was the one thing that would have helped me in 2014 when I really needed it? And it was to be able to have conversations with men from all walks of life, those who were successful parents, right, in what I believe to be successful with their health, in business, great mates, and had an awesome lifestyle, all of those sorts of things. And I wanted to be able to just sit down with them and find out all the cool shit and also all the bad stuff, the negative thoughts they had, the challenges, the setbacks, so that I could, realize that I was capable of achieving all of that sort of stuff too. And that's when we started the Man That Can project, and we started with men's groups, which is essentially just getting blokes to come down and have a yarn.
Talking groups. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Talking groups. And then it was, we filled those up for a while. And I was like, okay, what's the next thing? Workshops. Cool. How can we help blokes start implementing that? And then it grew international. So we went to online programs, and it's never really been what it is. It's like, what can it be and how can we help more men?
Because interesting enough, I'll pose this question to you. Do you find that when you do put a bunch of blokes in a circle together and they start talking about things that they might be struggling with, whether or not it might be setting goals because they're afraid of failure, whereas, if you can actually overlook that, failure is a key to success ultimately, because then you know what you can do to better yourself the next time you try to achieve a certain task. But for that particular instance, if people find relatability out of that, and talking in a men's circle, men's talking group, do you find that's probably the best way for people to come to realization that what they may be struggling with, especially with blokes, because we're a little bit stubborn in and putting our hands up and saying that we're struggling with something
Yeah.
is the best way, in approaching this sort of problem.
I think if you've never had or been exposed to having conversations like that, then
Yeah.
100%. It's like if you've never learned to surf, right? The best way to learn to surf is to go to a surf school, right? Where the sole intention of that is to take you from not knowing what a fucking surfboard looks like to this is how you stand up on a surfboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Same as with if you're wanting to learn to talk about things that maybe you don't talk about, like as you mentioned, maybe challenges that you've got going on in your life, frustrations, things like that. Go to a place where the intention is to have those conversations, because if you're fearful of talking about it or you don't know how it goes, someone will be there to go first, and then you go, oh, I'll just copy what they did. Simple. Yep. As opposed to going to the park, with your mates in the footy and trying to have those conversations. Most of us don't know what the fuck to do next.
It's probably not going to happen because it's not the right environment.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing is once you get comfortable in that environment where the sole intention is to have those conversations, to learn how to listen better, to learn how to ask questions, to learn how to articulate what you're really feeling and what you're really experiencing.
Yeah.
If your mates get involved with that too, which is what I highly encourage, bring your mates along because it helps you improve your mateship, then you can start doing it at the pub. Then you can start talking about it at the skate park or the footy field. Like all my mates now, most of my clients are some of my best mates because we all surf together, we skate together, play golf together. So everywhere we go, we can shoot shit, talk banter. But then if someone's got something they really want to talk about or get off their chest or ask for opinions on, we feel comfortable doing it because it's normal.
Yeah.
But I also know that, in various other situations, it's not. So I think to answer your question in a long-winded way, it is the best place for people who've never experienced it before. The reason why I started it was because I didn't have that and I didn't know what questions to ask or how to not feel like I was being judged. So to have people go before me, it's always easier.
So did you yourself go through a men's talking group and resultantly you found a positive outcome for being able to find relatability with, first of all, having that fear of putting your hand up and being the first person to just talk about your struggles?
Yeah, I never went to a men's group essentially because I started doing, I guess, talking, like trying to work through my own stuff back in 2013, 2014 before I was aware of any. I'm sure there were some around, but for me, I use social media as that, and it was shit scary. Like, because I was talking about things that I was struggling with to people I didn't even know. I was just putting videos up or writing posts, and I was in network marketing at the time. So one of my goals back then was I saw a guy who inspired me. He was a bricklayer, tried to take his life, and now had a successful business, and he inspired the hell out of me. And one of my goals was I want to learn to speak on stage. I want to inspire other people. So I knew in order to do that, I had to clean out my closet, right? I had to talk about all the bad stuff that I held guilt and shame around. And, I didn't have a platform that like a group or a community. So when I would go to these events, I was always like, come on, let me on stage. Let me share my story. Let me share my story until I got to. And then the more I practiced sharing my story, the better I felt about myself because I didn't feel like I had all these skeletons in my closet. And then, I became more comfortable to go, right, I'm ready to tell this story about that on social media. I don't care if people think I'm a dickhead or whatever. And the more I became comfortable with it, the more I had random people from all walks of life going, fuck, I've done that or I've experienced that. And it just helped me feel free is the better word. Like it was amazing. But if I had access to a men's circle, or if they were more, well, I guess if I actually knew what to look about, like what you're doing with this podcast or what I'm doing with myself is creating awareness. It's giving blokes more tools and opportunities to learn the skills that we're talking about here. But back then podcasting wasn't big. All of these sorts of things weren't that big. So it was just like, I just wanted to speak on stage. So I did what I had to do, which was clear my conscience and give it a crack.
And I think the hardest thing with that is with being able to do that comes a certain level of vulnerability. And I think it's the fear of unknown. If I share this story to the exterior audience, through social media or whoever I'm presenting to from a stage, are they going to receive it well? Are they going to come up to me and ask questions or start talking shit about the way I may have acted out in a certain situation? All those thoughts start to propel around your head. And what you've got to realize is you've got to, first of all, do this for yourself. Clear, like you said, clear out the closet, do it for yourself, and mentally get yourself back into a state where you're happy with how you're traveling. And then from there, you'll find that those sort of questions will become quite minimal when you won't even be thinking about it. And it's interesting enough. I think another thing as well, if I'm going on with vulnerability and with regards to what you do as well, and trying to help men out that are struggling with themselves and trying to find their own purpose and finding their own niche, is I think you would agree with this. I think we do struggle in that we do make a lot of excuses. If someone drinks, they'll say they drink a lot. They're not an alcoholic. They word it differently, but they know in fact that they probably do fall in that category. And the best way to describe it, and I found this quote online, is that the man who complains about the way the ball bounces is likely the one who dropped it. And that's by Lou Holtz. And I think it's so accurate. If we're talking in footy terms, someone's passing it to someone and it's a knock on, or they grab it and they try to grab it and it doesn't come up too well, and they knock it on and they don't score the try, straight away the blame's on the other person.
Right.
I think the biggest thing with guys is we struggle to take onus with previous things we may have done or things that are currently going on within ourselves that we know in fact that we need to do something about it, but we just don't know how to take that first step.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Ownership's like, it's or once you've got that level of awareness that there's a cause and effect principle, and we can either be at the effect of the things going on in our life or the people in our life or, the economy, COVID, whatever. And those things can ruin us. Like, they really can, but what we don't have control over, we can't change. And that's why it's like, what can I be at cause for? Even though, there's a quote that I love, which is, you can be 50% of the problem, but 100% of the solution.
Yep.
And it's, even though this situation right now sucks, and it, let's use lockdown, it does suck. And everyone's experience is completely different, right? They're entitled to their views and everything. But for me, it's like, okay, well, it is what it is. So how can I maximize stuff for me? For me, it was like, I want to read more. I can learn music. I can do things that maybe I didn't have the time to do in the past. It's not always ideal. There is other things that I would like to be doing, but I may never get the opportunity to be locked down for, however long we were locked down for. So everything in our life, the relationships, as you talk about, our health, our finances, everything. It's like, what can I do to improve this situation? Where am I not taking responsibility? Is it, for such a long time when I was broke, money ruined me till about 4 years ago. I remember always being like, do I have enough money to fuel up? That was the worst feeling in the world.
Mate, especially when your full tank might be $70-$80 and you're like, oh bloody hell, it's $1.40 today.
I know. Yeah, you're like, I'll wait till tomorrow, and you get to the point where it's like, I can't wait any longer. The fuel light's been on for a while. And it's because I never took responsibility for one, learning how, like, watching my expenses versus income, and how can I improve myself so I'm worth more than, minimum wage, and doing all of these sorts of things. Or maybe, why I started my own business, because I wanted to be able to dictate what I could earn, rather than being at the effect of, I can only work 38 hours this week at X amount of dollars. And once again, everyone's needs to take ownership for what they actually want. Some people, that's all they want, and that's completely fine. But for me and what I wanted with my life, I wanted more, because just what I wanted didn't align with that way of living. So I took ownership for it, and I've been fumbling, as you go back to that grubber analogy or metaphor you were using. It's like, I've been fumbling my way forward for 8 years now. I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm in much better position in all areas of my life as a result of that. So once again, there's still days where I feel sorry for myself and I blame other people and blame other things. But I ultimately know that, if I continue to do that, nothing's going to change. So eventually the goal is to snap out of it and take ownership for it.
And do you find, going back to what you're saying, especially in the time of COVID, how things are continually fluctuating. We don't know what's going to happen. 2 weeks down the track, we might be back in lockdown and we're stuck watching Netflix again. But
we need some new episodes.
Nothing wrong with that. But with regards to that, to maximize your time, do you find that having setting goals or setting a bit of a plan as to what you want to do in between that period of being locked down, or like you said, back in the day when you're broke and you're going to the petrol station and you're struggling for money and you're concerned that it might be $1.50 today versus $1.10 2 weeks ago. Do you find if you actually plan out or financially plan out the way that you might be going about spending your money or setting goals in terms of times that are a lot tougher to maximize the time that you have chilling at home, do you think that actually that helps a lot with your headspace and it just clears the mind and just helps you look streamlined a lot more?
Definitely. It's a lot of people, in my opinion, and from a lot of the clients that I work with in my own experience with COVID, was like the uncertainty fucked with me.
Yeah.
And it ruins a lot of people because you just don't know. Like even for me, like, do I book this workshop? Because what if I then have to close it? Do I want to go through that? Can I book this trip to Sydney, or are we going to be in lockdown again? It's like, there's no certainty for me to just go, righto, let's get into routine, because we're creatures of habit. Like, people love going to the same coffee shop. They love hanging out with the same people. They love reading the same kinds of books, whatever. At the moment, there's none of that. So while and don't get me wrong, and you can probably relate to this, Jaden, is a lot of people are tired, not because of just because of it's like, fuck, when is this going to end? And people are starting to get really frustrated, which I can understand. But I think this is also what tests our character as individuals. Like, how long can we hold on for, right? And I'm very tired with it, but also I also have certain expectations and standards for how I want to conduct myself and what I want to utilize this time, because once again, we mightn't get something like this again. And fucking touch wood, hopefully they don't. I'm talking about the lockdown side of things where the whole world stops. Like, pretty wild.
Sure.
So we start thinking about, okay, well, how can I maximize this right now? For me, it was understanding that, I've been very careful in the lead up. I've always wanted to have a certain amount of money in the bank if something like this happens, because you do hear of businesses shutting down, recessions and all that sort of stuff. So clearly there's going to be some financial struggle at some point in our lives. So do we have, are we planning for that? I've always been planning for that since I've started earning money. It's then also, what certainty can I create in my life in such an uncertain environment? For me, it's routine in my house. Like, when we're in lockdown, I still got up at the same time. I went through setting up the day the same way I always do, with reading, meditation, doing my journal, all of that sort of stuff, because that gives me something to get up and I know, tick, there's something I've accomplished for the day. Then it's like, okay, well, something that I really struggle with is slowing down and switching off. So I now have X amount of time to do that because I can't leave the fucking house. So let's enjoy this process and see how much of a mind fuck it is, because I really struggled with that. It's like just sitting down by the pool.
I'm the exact same, man.
Yes, but it was like, cool, this is a challenge. Because if I can't slow down now, how am I expecting myself to slow down in retirement, which is what I'm working towards? Well, I'm not really working towards it, but most people are working towards retirement, right? We're like, I'll just be able to fully switch off. It's like fuck you, Will, because you couldn't even switch off in COVID. So there's all these opportunities that present us. And when we get uncomfortable, if you're self-aware enough, we can ask ourselves, all right, what's the opportunity, or what's the area of growth right here? For me right now, it's my patience, because there's been so many moments where I've just wanted to be like, fuck this lockdown, like, as a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But what's it going to achieve for me? Nothing. So
just makes the situation a whole lot worse.
100%. So while that's happened, I've just been like, right, just go chill out, man. Like, stay off your phone. Don't read all the bullshit, and go read a book or go for a skate or do whatever you want to do, with that you said you would do when you had this kind of lifestyle. Because there's so much that I don't know. There's so much that I want to try and understand. There's so much that I want to do with my life, but getting caught up in the politics and the bullshit that's going on in the world is not moving me forward, in my opinion, in the way that I see the world. For some people, maybe it does. Some people froth on it, but for me, it's like, nah.
Look, and I think it goes back to the idea of, I think any negative situation you go through, it's only as negative as you want it to be, and there's
Correct.
so much potential for growth. As I was saying at the start of the interview, with any situation you go through that is quite drastic and quite harsh in your own self-worth and mental headspace, like I said, there's a lot of growth, but it, it can challenge you and it can change you as a person. It can ultimately shape you to someone who is very vulnerable to that sort of situation and maybe needing assistance, or someone who can really stand up to that and guide people when they're struggling. And I think that that's a testament to you, Lachie, for being that sort of person that when you get challenged, you know for a fact that you can push yourself and you can get through those tougher times. And because you're able to attain that, you know that you can help lead people in that same direction.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the guru or the perfect person. I definitely have my
Gandhi.
moments. Yeah, I definitely have my moments. I just yeah choose to like put my head in a pillow and yell rather than bloody blast it out on social media or something like that. It's just, and once again, it is that perspective. Like, what are we missing? Because I believe life is like we're trying to leave the next generation better than ours, as you know, we're trying to improve upon our parents, etc. So is the way that I'm acting and thinking and behaving right now and what I'm putting out to the world going to do that? Or is it just causing more division, which is what I think at the moment is happening because people are just arcing up over something that we should be really trying to work together to achieve. But once again, I also understand that that's not possible because people just love feeling significant, and having something like this where you're either on this side or this side makes them feel pretty fucking significant, and it allows them to buy into something bigger than themselves, whether it's you're for it or against it, and which I understand. Good, go for it, but fuck, they're not the people that I want to spend time around.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact same, man. I think people that are very set on their own sort of journey and growth, are the sort of people that I want to be hanging around with. It's easy to get stuck with people who might be heavily into drinking or use it as an excuse because they don't know, they have nothing else to do with themselves. And I think it goes back to that idea of not setting goals and not really knowing exactly what you want to do with your spare time. Uh, the sort of people I enjoy hanging out with, the sort of people that lift you up and put you in, show the best version of yourself off and propel that to everyone else.
Couldn't agree more, bro. And I remember, and I want to give context to this because I think there may be some people who are going, yeah, cool. For me, I hate that. And when I started hanging around
Yeah.
empowered people who set goals and lifted each other up, like I thought that was weird. I was like, right, do these guys want
Yeah,
something from me?
you feel a bit outnumbered. What's
Yeah.
what's going on here?
This is not, or yeah, it wasn't normal for where I came from and my upbringing. So I was always like, what's the catch? Like, they must want something from me because up until 24 years of age, everyone had always wanted something from me. There was always some hidden agenda. If someone was helping you, it was like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah.
And then I started, the first time I got to hang out with millionaires, Jay, like I was like frothing, right? I went away on a 3-day retreat with 6 millionaires. And I was just like, I need to pick their brain. I carried a notepad everywhere. I didn't want to get drunk because I wanted to show that I was a respectable person. But then I was, they were giving me gifts and they were just giving me their time and conversation. I was like, what's the catch? And then I found out they didn't just do that for me. They just always did it throughout their life. They would stop in the hallway and give advice to people and spend time with them and make them feel valued, make them feel heard. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
Yeah.
normally,
What's the monthly payment subscription?
yeah, there's something going on that I'm not aware of. But then I realized that some of the most successful people, well, they gave the most, right? I had a belief that rich people, either were just stole from people or were, stingy bastards, but like they generally give more than most people. Like one of the things that's interesting thing at the moment, Jay, is people are blowing up about Elon Musk and Bezos and all that for spending billions of dollars to go to space. Everyone's like, they could have done this, fed this many people or done this. I'm like, they could have, but they also have
Worked hard for it.
worked hard to put himself in that position. And I
Mm.
guarantee you, they give billions or millions and millions and millions, if not billions, to charity two causes that mean most to them. They just don't feel the need to spruik about it.
It's just unfortunately with the media, how unfortunately they have a tendency of exacerbating everything negative about a certain person. So with Elon Musk, him and his how he likes to smoke his weed sometimes, and they always just talk about how he's just spending money here and there and all that sort of stuff. But behind the scenes, like you said, they would most definitely be doing stuff that you just don't know about, but they do. It just happens.
And this is why when we go back to mateship in one of our pillars, it's easy. Like people probably watch you and watch the growth that you're on. They don't see, like, even people seeing you put out these podcast episodes, right? Like, oh, another podcast episode. Cool, good on you. They don't realize all the work that goes in behind the scenes to editing it, to getting guests on, to learning your craft, to do that. And people probably never will unless they say to you, hey, can I hang out with you while you go through the podcast process?
Yeah.
And then they go, holy fuck. He's so much more than just a good sounding voice on a iPhone or whatever. And this is where people really need to step up and start taking responsibility and ownership. Is if you want to comment on something, or if you want to share an opinion, really, like, get in the trenches with the people who are doing the work and understand how they think, act and behave, because there'll be so much stuff going on that you have no idea. And if you did, you'd probably be making the same decision. It's real fucking easy to comment when you're sitting on your balcony and not getting involved.
And that's what you see, like on social media. You see a professional sports player, let's just say Adam Reynolds from the NRL. He might have a couple of bad weeks, and all they talk about in the media is how inconsistent he's becoming as a player. But if you actually look at his stats over time, he's an incredible player. But that's all they talk about. And it's easy, like you said, for someone to be sitting back on their balcony, just scrolling through their feed and seeing that post and going, oh yeah, he's shithouse. Realistically, the person sitting there looking at the post probably will never be able to play professional rugby themselves, nor be able to play reserves. So it's so easy to judge. And I think, like you said, actually get into the craft and see the amount of work they put into playing sport or working in a certain occupation to be able to have the skill set that they have acquired over time.
Well, it's anyone who's listening to this podcast. No one does anything to suck at it. Like, I don't think I've ever done anything in my life to suck at it. But we need to understand that life, like, you think about how much the last 18 months has thrown at everyone. And some people have families, some people are failing mortgages, some people, his health is shot to shit. Some people are lacking, like, there's so much stuff happening in so many people's lives, and we expect them to show up week in, week out and nail it. Like, I can't even go through 2 days of work nailing it without like some external influence or internal in my head to, smack me over the head and make me feel like I can't, alcohol for one, or things like that. So we got to have a bit of empathy to go, well, I'm not fucking perfect, and neither is anyone listening to this.
No.
So why would you expect someone, they're just getting paid to do their job, just like everyone else gets paid to do their job. But I guarantee you there's times where you should be doing your 8 hours at work and you're sitting on Facebook, or you're texting a mate, or you're sending a GIF in a WhatsApp group. That's not constructive to what you're supposed to be doing or what you're being paid to do. Much like when some people have a poor game, they're paid to win, but sometimes you just have a fucking bad game, and sometimes you have a bad season.
Well, I was watching the cycling last night.
How good was it?
It was, what was his name? Dennis?
Yeah.
Dennis third. That was bloody good effort. I'll tell you what, it was 44 kilometers. Insane.
I don't know how they maintain that.
Mate, I'd die after 10. But there was another Australian cyclist. I can't think of his name, but
the one who said he was retiring after the Commonwealth.
Yeah. So, I mean, he said he bombed out, but he was 3 minutes behind the leader, which for me, I'd probably be about 50 minutes behind, 50 minutes or more behind. But he was just talking about it, and he was saying, they asked him, going back what you're saying, so any reason why you had a bit of a bad run? No, just didn't turn up. I was just a bit inconsistent today. And like you said, that's all it is. That's a part of life. You can train as hard as you want. You can acquire all the skill sets you can, go through your degree at university. You turn up one day at work and you're just not yourself, and inconsistencies start to be, apparent. And that's what it is. It is what it is,
That's why the mind work is so fascinating. Like I listen to like LeBron James, for him to be as consistent as he has, or like Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Nadal, Federer, all these guys who've been at the peak of their sport for as long as they have been, is not just because of physical ability. It is their mental ability to not crumble under pressure, to be able to withstand the criticism. And
Spot on.
It's when yeah, people look at athletes and they go, fuck, they're athletically talented, which they are. But if you don't turn up on the day, then it doesn't matter how good your athletic ability is. I think we need to start looking at people. And this is where, we've had these people withdrawing from the Olympic Games because of mental health. That's what makes a whole person. Their mental health is an important part of their whole makeup as an athlete or as an individual. So if they're mentally not feeling good or they're not in the right mind frame, don't discredit them or anything like that. It's just, unfortunately, that element of their performance is not where they, would ideally like it to be. No one wants to be suffering.
No.
But that's unfortunately where they're at. So, you got to, it's no different to them tearing a hamstring or rolling an ankle or whatever it is. It's like, it's a part of the whole whole makeup of an athlete or as an individual.
Oh yeah, you can have the skill sets. You could be buddy top 10 sprinter in the world, but if you don't have that positive mindset, or you just you're struggling mentally, you're gonna fall down the pecking order, and that is what it is. Like it's not a one in one out sort of thing. It's all in all out. If you don't have both of those attributes, you're just gonna crumble, and that's just how it is.
That's like Dusty Hoffman. Martin. I always say Dusty Hoffman. Dustin Martin works. How he
Dusty. Yep.
hurt his kidney or his liver, and they're like, oh, he'll be fine mentally because he works so much on his mindset.
God.
Like he works with the Resilience Project and all of these amazing life coaches because he just wants to be at peak performance. Like he literally journals every day. Like does gratitude.
I did say that. Yeah.
Does all of these things. So when a season-ending injury happens, he's not gonna. Obviously he's not going to be cheering and stoked, but he's been practicing tools and strategies to help him get through those tough times. And it's why all of us as individuals need to start thinking about it. If you're, anyone who's listening to this is already ahead of the curve because they're investing time in their self to understand different perspectives and learn to ask better questions, because they might pick some stuff up from this, but they might also go, cool, they mentioned meditation or journaling or exercise. And if you're not currently doing it, give it a crack, but give it a proper crack where you give it, 12 weeks or whatever, and write down how you feel every day after doing it, or write down what's going on in your life or in your mind at that point in time. Because even if you're going well, right? We had a guy who goes, he rocked up to a men's circle once, and he's like, I've never had any mental health challenges or anything like that. My life's fucking awesome. But I've just come here today to learn from you guys and listen just in case anything does happen in the future.
Sure.
I thought I was sitting there, I was like, this dude's a legend. Like, it's brilliant. It's the same with fitness. A lot of people with 6-week challenges and stuff, they go, all right, no alcohol, strict diet for 6 weeks, but I'm going to have a big bender the night before. And as soon as the 6 weeks is done, I'm going to eat whatever I want and drink as much piss as I want. I'm like, what kind of mindset is that?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to having that balance. If you can balance out your life, let's disregard your Bucks party.
Yeah.
But we all have fun times like that. But
it'll blow out.
if you can balance out everything you do in life, and you can stay in front of the pecking order, in front of something that may occur to you in the future, whether or not you're someone who may or may not be into fitness, try to increase your fitness to a level that if you were to sprain an ankle and you're having to sit down for 2 or 3 weeks, that there are other things you can do to keep that level of fitness up. Because I feel like the more estrogen we can reduce, the better we are. So I think if we can stay in front of the pecking order, then by God, I think it can't do anything bad. It can only do good.
100%. And yeah, I think it's important for everyone to understand this isn't going to bulletproof you. Like, everyone will still have their ups and downs in life. That's part of life. But it's as Jay was just saying, like, you need to have these tools in place. You need to have things that make you feel good, or building up your resilience level a little bit more for when the shit does hit the fan, which it will. Life is designed to challenge you. And just when you, it's generally when people are investing in themselves and they may have done a program or a course or read a book or, had an awesome conversation with their partner, that something comes around the corner and they're like, fuck, why does this keep happening to me? And you're like, well, because it's testing you. It's testing you how well you understood what you just learned or how badly you want the outcome you're working towards. And most people pull the plug too early, which is why most people aren't where they want to be in their life. It's not because they can't have it, it's because they quit too early.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. I think just having a bit of a set plan, like look, it's crazy. You look at those crazy American shows where they make bunkers, doomsday. I think doomsday preppers.
Crazy, eh?
And you look at one, and now down the track, it's like, holy shit, she was right. She was like, oh, in 2020, blah blah blah, there'll be a virus going around, and I'm not saying to prep yourself for something like that, but just prepare for something to occur in the future. But just be wary that you have to challenge yourself, and you have to be up for the challenge. Otherwise, you just crumble and fall down. But if in that instance that is to occur, just to put your hand up and say that you need help.
Yeah, well, I think my grandfather passed away earlier this year.
Oh,
And
sorry to hear that, mate.
it's right. He was an old fella, but it was cool because I podcasted him a heap, and I got to, 7 years, 8 years ago, my pa passed away, and I never really got to build that relationship and learn a lot from him. But it made me start thinking about death, and as weird as that sounds, for all of us, someone close to you is eventually going to die.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt, always does. And the benefit of me being aware of that and get into podcast my granddad and ask him a whole heap of questions was it really got me to understand someone who was 94 years old, what really was important to him, even though he'd worked so hard running a farm and done all these things. I could hear about regrets, things he wishes he did more of, which wishes he did differently. And it put a lot into context, but like a lot of it came down to human connection and just the desire to be better in all of the small things that we often overlook. Obviously, especially for a lot of blokes, we adopt the belief that we need to be the provider, so we have to have a good financial base. And often within the workplace, it's like, I need status, right? I need to be the CEO or
the big dog.
Yeah, the big dog. And I battle with that all the time, running a business, and it's not important. Like we think it is, but it's like the moments like having conversations like this, or going to the beach with your friends and your family, or going to a bucks party. It's like that's the stuff that you're going to be 94 years old talking to your grandson, having a laugh about. And I feel like I've just gone on a massive tangent from where we were, but I think it's really important to start thinking about where you want to be, what you're going to be proud about looking back around how you acted, what you learned and what you gave back to other people. Because the more we do that, the more we're going to enjoy the process along the way, because there's struggles coming, right? Setbacks are coming, but success and amazing moments are also coming. But how do you want each day to go? And, is it the people that you hang, people who are in bitter, toxic workplaces? For me, I'm like, why the fuck do you stay there? Before I started my own business and after various other things, I was Uber driving, I was doing sales, I did all these, I was a glassy, I was doing all these different things because when I wasn't happy, I was like, fuck it, I'm changing it. And I would ask myself, what didn't I like about the last job? And what do I think would improve it? And what skill do I want to learn next? And I would just go, next job.
I think it's just because some people become too comfortable in their workplace and they're afraid of change. Either that, or they're just comfortable financially with what they're earning annually. But I think to come down to what should be more valuable than money is how you're feeling and how you're coping in that working environment. If they're putting you down and just you're waking up every day going, fuck me, I got to get up for work. It's, 2 hours before I start work. Is that really where you want to be going? I think I just want to be 10 years down the track, looking back at something I've achieved or workplaces I've been working at and going, you know what, it's been such a good ride and I'm happy with where I am now. Waking up in the morning going, shit, yeah, let's go. Let's get into today. I mean, Mondays are always tough for everyone. But just waking up and going, this is awesome. I love this.
100%. And that's all we are striving. Like I'm striving for that same thing. I fight the battle of I need to earn more money. I need more status. I need more followers. I need more this, that, and the other. I deal with that all the time. But then when I slow down and think about what's actually important to me, it's like, why do I keep getting sucked into that? Well, unfortunately, I've got a mobile phone and I hang around and coach successful people. So they inspire me to be better. And there's
Yeah.
a difference between being inspired to be better and feeling like you're not good enough. And it's all perspective at the end of the day. So it's working on how can I see the differences in what my current experience is to make me better.
Yeah.
Like my life's fucking amazing. I have an incredible life, but I do want to be better tomorrow. I want to be a better partner. I want to be a better coach. I want to be a better podcaster. I want to be better at everything that I'm working on. But it
And,
can't happen in a day.
and I think that's like a certain sense of self-realization that we all need to come accustomed to. Doesn't matter how much we've already achieved or how much we're liking life at the moment. There is always still that element and possibility of growth. And like you're saying, you're doing an amazing job of what you're doing in the Man That Can project. And from where you were to where you are now, it's honestly quite amazing. But there's still so much more growth to do. Like, you might want to attain more exposure to your project, gain more followers, anything, just continue to change the world and change the perspective of males and finding their niche and all that sort of stuff. There's always that potential for growth.
Definitely. Like think about your phone. I always think of the iPhone metaphor. It's like they bring out a new phone every year, like a new hardware, but they update the software monthly or bi-monthly. Like they're
So
continuing
many changes.
because if you didn't, you get bored with it. You don't when when you get bored with something, like remember when you first get your iPhone, right? You don't want to scratch it at all. You're like, oh, I'm gonna place it down on the bench top. 3 months later, you're like, yep, throw it and just falls wherever, and you don't care
Yeah.
because once something you get used to something, you don't give a shit about it. And most people don't give a shit about it because they've been the same person for fucking however long they've been alive. They stop growing after school. They avoid uncomfortable situations. They avoid fear because it makes you uncomfortable. But it's like if you don't push through that uncomfort, you're not going to realize the value that you have or the worth that you have because you're going to go, oh, there's another failed opportunity. Hanging around the same people, hearing the same conversations. Fuck, I hate my relationships. And it's like, well, do something different. It's going to be scary. You're going to make wrong mistakes. Wrong mistakes. You're going to look what I just did. You're going to make mistakes.
Mate, we're all human. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah. Like it's all going to happen. But every time you do take a step into the unknown, every time you do take a risk, every time you do fail, you're just updating the software or if you're in the gym, you're updating the hardware. It's like you're going to continue to upgrade and you're going to take greater care about yourself because you start to go, I've put a lot of time and effort into myself. I deserve the respect to look after my physical health, look after my mental health, look after, have a nice bed to sleep in, buy a nice car if you can afford it. I deserve that because I put the fucking work in, just like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are doing right now. They deserve to fly to fucking space. They've built huge companies. They've employed, people can say they're not paying them enough, but they're paying a lot of people more money than maybe they would be getting elsewhere. So they're still doing a lot of good.
Yeah. Well, they didn't wake up in the morning with billions of dollars pouring out of their pockets.
And they still don't, right? It's all stock money. Like if you were to cash out Amazon, if Jeff Bezos were to go, all right, pay me my 200 billion, Amazon's fucked. It's not happening. People don't understand that either. So yeah, I think just if you invest in yourself, you deserve everything that you get. Like all of it.
In terms of your project as a summary, because of the topic name of definition of man, I'm interested to get your perspective on that. Like, what do you define a man to be?
It's funny because I asked this at the end of one of my podcast episodes, and now it's on me. I'm sweating. No, the definition for me is a bloke who takes ownership for their life. Someone who can own their emotions, own their mistakes, own where they want to get to. It's like just complete ownership for everything in your life. That to me is man.
The men that can.
Yeah, the men that can. Super simple.
That's it, mate. And one lasting message as well for listeners tuning in, whether they're men or male. I see I've just done it as well.
Oh, you're human too.
Whether they're male or female, one thing they can get out of this episode that can help change their perspective on life and maybe get them into that rhythm for if challenging times are to come.
I would just always say, what's the one thing that I can do right now that's going to improve my quality of life? It could be go sit on the couch and watch the Olympics if you want to switch off. It could be go for that walk to de-stress. It could be drink a glass of water. It could be call your parents or call your mates. Like, what is the one thing that I could do right now that I believe is going to better improve my life? Just that one thing, and do it.
Because if you just keep it down to one thing, then it's not too broadened or it's not unrealistic. It's would you actually say as well that one thing would have to be somewhat of a realistic goal?
Definitely. Like, there's no way. When I first started network marketing, I was like, in 12 months, I'm going to have $1 million business. I had never run a business before in my life.
Not gonna happen.
It didn't happen. That's for fucking sure. I wish it did. So it's got to be realistic. It can stretch you, but it's also the opportunity. And if it is something like, what advice I would give to myself or someone who's saying, right, in 12 months, I want to earn $1 million, because some people have done it. I just wasn't good enough or didn't have, the skill set or whatever, would be, what's the next thing that I need to learn to achieve that? Or what's the next step? And just the sooner you can get through those steps, the sooner you're going to get to that outcome.
Yeah.
It's, for someone starting a podcast, you and I have a great understanding of how to run a podcast, how to upload it, how to edit it, tools, software, all that sort of stuff. Some people might be going, I want to start a podcast, but I don't know where. And there's so many things that they could do that they don't take any action. What's the first step I could take? Oh, maybe Google to find a list of things to do and then just go through the checklist, or maybe reach out to someone who's already running a podcast. I don't know, simplify it. Think about less and do more.
No, exactly right. I think in any situation we might be faced with, or we might have this grand idea of starting our own clothing company up, it's so easy to be flustered with all the big ifs and whats. But if we can start off by just working on one thing, and then once you've actually achieved that, move on to the next step and just continue in that process, everything becomes a lot more fluffy, and you can actually start to see the horizon again.
Yeah, and this is why we continue to do it with the blokes that we work with and go through those 8 areas. It's like, we all want to get better in those 8 areas. But most people, we don't have the time, and we're not prepared to sacrifice or unlearn habits to do everything at once. So it's just like, okay, well, which one's the most important? It might be finances. Cool. Where can we find time to improve that specific thing in your week? I've got an hour on a Saturday morning. Cool. Can you commit to that? Yeah. Awesome. Then that hour a week is the finance time. And you might do that over 12 weeks or 2 years or whatever. And you get to the standard that you want to be at, or you get the outcome. And then it's like, awesome. I've now just raised my standards with my financial IQ or whatever. Now I'm looking around at my other 8 areas, that the rest of the 8 areas again for a review, and my physical health sucks. Cool. Let's go learn about nutrition or training or whatever it is. And then we begin the process again. And it's just keep going. And over time, they continue to improve.
That's it, man. That's it. There's always room for improvement for whatever we do in life. We try not to settle for what we have, because then we get stuck in that cycle of self-worth, self-understanding. What's the general purpose? So I think continue to grow in that process, and you'll just become a better person for it.
100%.
Thank you so much for your time, Lachie, mate.
I appreciate you having me on. That was an awesome conversation.
Oh, anytime, mate. You just let us know if you ever want to do another Zoom chat, and I'll be willing, mate.
Mate, keen as the couch conversations.
Keen as mustard, mate.
Keen as mustard, indeed.
But guys, this has been episode 1, season 3 of Couch in the Mind, clearing the mind one couch talk at a time. And on today's episode, I had Lachie Stuart, founder of the Man That Can project, joining me in conversation. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, mate. And as always, if you guys need anything, just reach out to me. I'll also put Lachie Stewart's social media content in the feed below if you're wanting to chase out some of his information. Anyways, have a great rest of the week, and I'll speak to you guys soon.